Hi, I'm Phil. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be talking you through a big review on the ELVES AMANYAR TT frame set. I've put together a really naff cue card here just to make sure I don't waffle too much because I have a tendency to talk a load of crap. That'll help me keep me on target. So what is it? It's a out of the box. Everything you need to put the bike together is provided. Absolutely no issues at all. Set up, it's pretty straightforward to build. I mean, I built it myself, but most bike shops will be able to put this together without the instructions. It's pretty simple. I'm running a one by setup, but we'll get onto that in a bit. But the design of the bike I really like. ELVES, anyway, I've blown it out of the water again with the colours. I've gone for the same sort of style that I've had on my Evo frame set. So I've got the I believe it's the jewellery blue chameleon paint, and you can see it's got a really nice, I think straight on it looks blue, but it's also got like a purple sort of effect through it as well, which is really nice. And I've gone with nice black sort of matte or gloss black at the top, which is pretty standard and straightforward. So the build itself, you've got it's pretty standard sort of fork setup, so it slides up through. You've got the stem that bolts over the top, and your top cap's really nice, so everything's tidied away, so you've got no sort of cables out on display at all. And what I'll do is I'll at some point through the video I'll grab the camera and we'll have an overview of it. But yeah, I think, you know, the beam shape gives it a real retro look, and then I've added these fantastic light bicycle wheels on there, which we've got there, Pro X carbon disc wheel, and the front, the tri-spoke, which really does, I think, in my opinion, completely look at this bike. It makes it sort of takes it to another level, if I'm honest. Build, design's great. There's no issues. I think a lot of people will be looking at this sort of area here and thinking, as soon as I sit on this, the bike's going to snap from underneath me. I've had if I'm honest, there's probably more flex in the material in the saddle than there is in this, and you can pretty much hang off of that. Obviously, riders over 100 kilos probably going to, you know, this is not the bike for you. But yeah, cracking. I love the design, and yeah, I've had, you know, no issues with it at all. I think it's fantastic. So comfort and fit. I'm about 178 centimeters, so put me on this bike. I believe this is a 51. Yeah, it's a 51. So the sizing's a bit funny, but you're best off looking at the geometry online. And to be fair, if you were to look at sort of my height into the size guide that's provided on the website, I would have been in the bracket for the 51 anyway. And I've had no issues at all with the fit. You can see I'm even I'm further forward. I mean, I like to get over the cranks anyway, but I've got a really nice comfortable fit on here. The stack and spacers I've actually lowered recently. I did have it slightly higher when I did my Ironman. I've taken probably 1 or 2 spaces out of there, and it was like riding an armchair. I had it like, you know, the extra spacer in there. I was still pretty optimal position wise. I've no sort of, you know, I didn't feel that I was losing any benefit on aerodynamics, but yeah, I've dropped down and I've still had no issues comfort-wise, and there's still a lot of room for adjustment here, which I think is absolutely cracking for a bike straight out of the box, and I've not even really had my proper fit on it yet. So I'm excited to sort of see where I can get with this bike over the winter months. But yeah, build, design, comfort, fit, absolutely spot on. No issues, no creaks, no nothing. So spot on. Aerodynamics. Touched on it briefly. Yeah, I think, you know, the design of the frame anyway is very sort of similar. You sort of see the front where, I think if you've looked at the Evo bike, I really like that ELVES have kind of kept this sort of sweeping design here. You know, it can sort of almost looks as if the air is going to flow really nicely through the bike. You know, even at the back here, it's got a really nice sort of look to it. It's really sharp on the front here as well, so you can sort of see, you know, airflow would be really good there. I'd love to see what it's like in a wind tunnel. I'm sure someone will get it in there soon, because I've got no doubts that it will perform really well. Looking at it in sort of similar terms to other bikes that are out there and bikes that I've had before, I'm not seeing any disadvantage, or, you know, if anything, I've probably got more of an advantage on this bike through the setup and the comfort and fit. So yeah, on the aerodynamics point of view, and I'm not an expert on aerodynamics, yeah, I'd say, you know, if you can get yourself into a really good fit, a bike fit, that's pretty much, I'd say, yeah, a good 70% of it already done for you. So yeah, fantastic. Weight and portability. So yeah, I don't find it's obviously TT bikes are normally a little bit heavier than my road bike anyway, and I think I've got my Evo probably floating around 8 kilos. But this without anything on it, you know, probably with an empty water bottle, I'd say you're probably looking at around about 9 to 9.5 kilos, which is pretty good. I mean, to be fair, it's similar to what I've had before. But triathlon bikes aren't light anyway. And bearing in mind, I've got a disc wheel on here, a tri-spoke. You know, and my accessories are usually on here as well when I've weighed the bike, so I think that's pretty damn good. I think to get that under 10 kilos, you'd be doing quite well anyway. Obviously, once you start adding in fluids and everything else, you've got your internal bladder, which we'll touch on a bit. Then yeah, you're going to add a bit of weight to the bike, but it's not really going to slow you down, in my opinion. You know, put the power out in your legs. So components. So we can go over this now, and I'll probably grab the camera in a minute. And we can go over the bike, but so we'll go. Let's go with drivetrain. So I'm running a 1x on here. I found that what's been really good for me over the last year or so is probably about a 52 tooth chainring on the front. Where I'm running a 1x, that allows me to change my cassettes out the back. So if I'm running like a hilly course, I could run it's a 12 speed, so I can run 10 to 36, I think it is. If I'm feeling that it's going to be quite hilly, and I can always chop the front one out and swap it with a 50 tooth chainring if I really wanted to, but it still gives me a good range top and bottom to get through most races I've done, and there's not really a hill I haven't got up using this setup. Obviously training dependent and level obviously in ability, but I find that's pretty optimal for me, and it gives me a good comfort zone to know that I can quite easily chop and change between the setup that I've got. So the 52 tooth, I can put a 10 to 28 on there if I'm going to go and do a TT, and I think if I was going to do TTs a lot more than I have done this year, then it may go up slightly on I've got a 54 tooth that I could probably put in here, and it'd probably put me a little bit more in the middle of the cassette, which would be a little bit more optimal. But I'm not finding that when I'm doing any of these events that I'm either right in the bottom cog or I'm cross chaining or I'm at the top. So I find that I'm generally sort of sitting in that middle range of gears, so it's probably fairly efficient. I've got it's SRAM red cranks which I've got on here, which are 165mm. I've got these lovely look carbon Keo blade. They've been around for quite a while now. You can pick these up relatively cheap. I got these, replaced the axles on them with some which I got off of eBay from China, I think, and they were relatively cheap, and it's kept these pedals going. So you can put life back into these, which is really good. I've got the lovely Easy Disc chainring cover, which I really think that completes this, because where I'm using I think it's a pyramid design chainring, which is relatively good value for money, I think. I can then tidy it up because I've got my power meter in here, which is a D0, I think, Quark power meter, and I can cover that up nicely. And it just aesthetically and aerodynamics, if you're going back to that again, you know, these are wind tunnel tested, and these are proven, you know, to help reduce drag there. And it just looks great as well. So 10 out of 10 for easy gains. Thank you very much. The rear derailleur is a SRAM red AXS. Again, really easy. It's wireless. There's no cables, nothing to route here. So building the bike is an absolute doddle, because you're just bolting the stuff on. It's not a case of having to wire through any Di2 cables or anything like that. So that's why I like this, because it's just really simple. If I'm traveling, and that's on here, it's on the list of things to do. I can unbolt some of this, and I can wrap it up, protect it in my bike box, and then I can quickly bolt it back on when I get the other end. You know, carry some quick links and can take your chain off quite easily. I've got the ceramic speed jockey wheel on the bottom there, which I think is really nice looking. Obviously, I don't know, performance terms, it probably does give you some sort of benefit. I'm not really sure. However, it does make the bike look a little bit better, so that's probably why that's on there. Yeah, again, cassette. I think this is a 1033 that I've got on here. Yeah, no issues with that at all. Yeah, can't really speak much about that, so we'll work through. The wheel that I've got on here is the Pro X wheel from Light Bicycle. They very kindly give me these wheels to as part of this bike and review. So massive shout out to them. I can't thank them enough, and I've used them this season, and I will continue to use them. They are absolutely brilliant. If I had the choice to buy a set of wheels to go on this bike that complete the look of this bike, it would have been these, because the rear wheel looks like a jet engine. It's absolutely brilliant. It's got nice internal on it, so I think they're 22mm, I think. I'll have to check, but I'm not exactly sure. Which allows me to put my 28mm tyres on here really nicely, and I think that gives an absolute optimal setup here. I've got these Pirelli tyres on there. I've always used them. I'm running it tubeless. There's no need to put any tape on there. These are sealed rims. I've had no issues with it. Touch wood. I think they're absolutely brilliant. I love them. So that's great. And obviously the tri-spoke as well. I've moved to the front of the bike now. Again, absolutely brilliant, and they're exactly the same. So the internals are exactly the same. So you know the width, the outer width is exactly the same for running the tyres that I've got. The saddle is a Mystica Physic saddle. I've got the back, so there is a back piece that attaches on, and you can put, so in a race, if I'm doing I'd say 70.3 triathlon long distance stuff, I can chuck my bottle behind my saddle, which is where I prefer to put it, which then allows me to fill up the bladder on the move, so I can then rotate round. So as I'm coming to the aid station, top tip, you can have your empty bottle already ready to, you know, you've already emptied it into here. That's now full again. You ditch your bottle and you grab a new one. So then you're drinking out of this throughout the race, and then you top it up again before you get to the next aid station, and then you're swapping out quickly to get your next bottle, which I think is brilliant design, and I have put that into practice at my 70.3 really well. On the bike, you've got another drinks bottle fitted on here, so it's very similar to the Elite cage. It's one that ELVES provided. Again, didn't have to buy this, it already came with the bike, which I think is another nice touch. This is 500ml, I believe, and in a race situation, I fill these up with gels, and I literally just swig on it as I'm on the bike as I'm going. So again, that's where my nutrition goes. So as if we're looking at moving on to, we're on hydration and storage after components anyway. If we're looking at what I'm doing within a race, I'm putting the gels in here, and then I'm filling up the frame bladder, which is in here, with my bottles on the move. And I've adapted the top, which I'll provide probably a PDF on how to do it. I've basically rerouted the cable because it would have come out the top of here, and that allows me to sort of lift this. This doesn't get lost, it doesn't come off. I can fill the bottle up from here. The actual tubing is internally routed through the top cap here, because there's loads of room. Even if you had more cables going through here, I've just got brakes going through here. The tube comes through and it comes up through one of the holes in the front here, one of the access holes on the top cover, and then allows me to store the bladder, and then I can drink on the move. So when I'm in my TT position, I can drink nicely, and that for me has been a game changer this season. So I'm not grabbing for bottles, I'm literally in my position, and I can quite easily grab a drink when I need to. Everything's internal, nothing out that you can see. Back into components really, so I seem to be getting ahead of myself, but it's nice because we're moving around the bike. I've got the shifters at the top here, so I've got which I'm going to talk about the brakes now anyway. It's all sort of integrated, so I've got a nice set of on the top bars here. I've got blips, so I can change gears literally when I'm in my race position into my TT position, aero position, and then I've got blips on the brakes here. Now these brakes, I think what we'll do is I'll just grab the camera. What I'm loving is Ride Reaver have come out with these really nice brakes here, hydraulic disc brakes, but inside, if you're running SRAM or Di2 for that matter, there's a nice cutout. See if I can get that in there so you can see it. There we go. You can see it sort of sits in just inside the lever, nice and smooth. And I've used these Leap components that provided these really nice covers, and they just stick in. So the blips stick into the side of there, and you get this really neat sort of aero looking front end of the bike. Camera's not really playing very well there, you go. Which is absolutely brilliant. So there we go, brakes. And I've also added, you can see, so I don't know if you can see the blips on top there, which is nice. I'll just get the camera in there. And then these lovely TT bars extend through these adjustable screws here, and you can see the notches on there, so you can adjust your position nicely. I've also got a computer mount in there, which is really good, which sort of tucks in between, so I've got the nice view of that. Also my straw just sort of stays out of the way. The grips that I've used are off of eBay. I'll probably put a link below, or might have even been Amazon actually. I think I'll chuck a link in. These are great. They're just fishing rod grip tape, which sort of heat shrinks down, and then you get a really nice, I just think they look great on the top of there. Really comfy elbow pads, and you can see, I don't know why they put the bike up here, it would have been easier to do this on the floor, but you can see I've got the hole there, which is, normally it's got a top cap. You can see the grub screws, or the rubber grommets that are there, just comes up, and that sort of keeps everything neat and tidy, rather than it coming up through this hole here and then being sort of floating around as I'm in a race, which is, I mean, you could tuck it away. You probably, I mean, I've put a cable tie on the inside of here just to attach it, to sort of keep it tucked away. It's nice and neat. The grips I've used are, yeah, these are pretty cool actually. I actually had these on my Orbea. They are from Orbea. No, I should be mentioning another bike brand. However, I think they actually work with these Ride Reaver brakes really, really well. Can't get that to focus, but you can sort of see. Just think they're really nice. They just sit really nice with those brakes. Top cap, you can see you've got some screws in there. One on the top, I think, as well, and then one on the other side, and that sort of secures. You can see in there, you can see the tube that runs through, and then we've got the bladder top, and then you fill up from in there, which is really, really handy. You can get a full water bottle in there, so I think it's just about 750 to 1 litre, I think, but 750 definitely is what I've been putting in there. Just fill a bottle up and go. Saddle, yeah, obviously you can have fun with that, so make sure you know the height of your ride height position, because you're gonna have to cut that down. Obviously measure 3 times, because you don't want to then have a short saddle post and then have to order another one, which would be a bit of a mistake. Now you can see those really nice wheels. They've got a lovely wavy profile to them. Yeah, I really like them. So what else have we got here that I have missed? So you've got the water bottle. Underneath the water bottle, you've got, I believe, so there's a big V bike there, but it's got like you've got a couple of Allen heads here, and under there I think this is where you'd keep, because if you're running Di2, you would keep your battery, I believe, in there, or I don't know whether you can put it under the, I don't think under the seat post. I don't think there's a channel here, and where you've got the bladder here, it's easier to have obviously the gear cables running through here in a central location, and then you can easily route up to the top of the bike where you need it, which I think is great. Obviously the bottle pops in there. I've not had that, interestingly enough, which is really good. I've not had this pop off in a race, which is good. I've had that happen before on other bikes. Brakes, again, you can see calipers in there. There we go, Ride Reaver. And then I've got this, I think they're Shimano covers, but the brakes look really nice. Really tidy, really impressed with those. So shout out to Ride Reaver. They've created a really, really good set of brakes there, and they're really good value for money. I'm all about value for money, me. It just completes the bike. Right, let's put this back on the stand. We're back on the stand. So yeah, value, I touched on that literally just a second ago. So I can't quote the bike off the top of my head, but I think you can get the frame for around, I think it's under £900, and that's everything you need, I believe. So you're getting your bars. I've got these bars are really cool. They're quite aggressive looking as well, and you can have them flipped around the other way, so you can have like super comfy. I'd imagine if you're doing like, maybe if you wanted to gear the bike up to do a bit of climbing maybe, or you just wanted a comfier position, you find that your reach is maybe too much if you had it in the downwards, because it's like almost a reverse V, so you'd have the up and down position. Yeah, they're really good. But we'll get back to value. Under £900 for a bike, I think, or just the frame, I think nowadays is exceptional. I'm not saying it's cheap, because I don't think it's a cheap bike. I think it delivers exactly what you need. When you can compare it to other brands out there in the marketplace, this is exceptional value. You can't probably buy a TT frame set cheaper than that on its own anyway, but also get everything that you're getting with it. I've got a bladder in there, I've got my bottle cages on there, absolutely everything I needed. I even got a bottom bracket to the spec of whatever build that I was doing the bike to, and I think that is something that you probably wouldn't necessarily get. You might just get a bare frame with other manufacturers. I've got the bars. These are 40, I think they're 40s, and also TT extensions, I think. So you just double check the website, but that again, you know, they're super comfy. All the adjustable risers, all the bolts, everything you need to build the bike is there out of the box. So 10 out of 10 for value. I even think these wheels are good value. And I know the disc isn't for everybody. It is normally an investment, but I think the tri-spoke alone, even if you're running easy disc cover or the two, I personally wouldn't have the two without each other. Again, really good value. But I think that 28mm, I think that I can run my 28 tyres on there nicely is another good bonus. Real world testing then. So I've ridden a few races on it. So we did the testing when we built the bikes, and we did some of the marketing content, which was great fun. We were bombing up and down hills all day on the bikes. We didn't have any mechanicals at all, and they were just literally built out of the box. So I was already confident at that point that I'd be more than happy to race on it. I had it built a couple of weeks prior to that filming, and I'd had the opportunity to get out on a few long rides. Again, no issues on the rides that I've been on with it. Also, I have done the 70.3 in Vichy with it, and I did a 238 bike on it, which I think is fairly reasonable on what is a very hilly course. I've not ridden that course for a number of years now. When I rode it before, it was only I only remember one sort of hill on the way round. This time it sort of goes out to the mountains, and you're doing a lot of climbing, and the bike handled absolutely fine. So I can't knock the performance of the bike. Real world testing, I've had a lot of fun on it. I've done a TT on it, and I had a lot of fun. Obviously I wasn't very quick that day, but that was me, not the bike. And we've recently done a ATW duathlon on it, where it was pretty bleak conditions actually. It was raining pretty majority of the ride. I did run a different set of wheels because it was so windy. It was a weekend recently, it was just the winds were horrendous. And I got out of the car, and as soon as I got out of the car with the bike, I had these wheels on it, and I was like, no way. So I swapped them for the 50mm I've got on my Evo. And yeah, podiumed that one, which was really good. Had a great bike on it, and I felt really confident. And I think I've just dropped these down. And I think that's the main thing about any bike that you've got, is getting in a comfortable position and actually being really confident and happy to go out and ride it. I think that's the same with all the bikes I've had. You've got to get into that. You've got to be happy, and you've got to want to ride the bike, and comfort. It's all a balance of all those things before you can start to then sort of produce results on a bike. And I'm quite pleased, in fact very pleased, I've got there relatively quickly. So next year it'll be really exciting to get some good racing done on it. Pros and cons. Okay, pros. Great looking bike. Paint job's amazing. The kit that I've gone at is exceptional. Mechanically, absolutely no issues at all with it. The only thing I can pick about with this bike is that you'd have to sort of say, okay, it's a triathlon bike. You're not going to use it in a UCI sanctioned event, potentially, because it's not, the frame doesn't conform to those requirements. That's the only bad thing I can say about this bike. I think we've done really well. ELVES, fantastic job. Thank you for providing the bike. Special shout out to Light Bicycle as well. These wheels are absolutely rocket ships. Thank you very much for providing those. And Ride Reaver, you've done a superb job with these brakes. For the value of money that these are in comparison to the other brands out there, you'd be silly not to put them on your bike. I mean, yeah, if you're a weight weenie or something like that, and there's a real specific need that you'd have to go for different components, great. But for me, I've built a bike that provides all-round value. Mechanically, it's sound and it can do the job that I've asked it to do, and I can't ask more. So, spot on. Thanks very much. Cheers for watching. I can't think of any other questions that people have asked me. The only thing I can think of recently, someone sort of said, where are you putting your nutrition? And I know we've touched on it. It's like, I do fill that bottle up, so that's pretty much where I'm getting that. Where I'm getting my nutrition from is probably gels in here, and I put a really sort of high carb mix into my frame. So for a long distance event, I've not had any issues with that because the gels will tide me over, even if I've had to switch on to the isotonic drinks that you get with the race that you've entered. So you have to sort of plan ahead and look at what the event is. And then you've always got the option to take gels onto the top of here if you really wanted to. And I'm sure that you could probably put something in and around the top area here if you're probably a physical nutrition and you want like a bar or something. I don't know what people tend to eat. I always, when I'm in a race, I get to a point where I don't really want to eat physical food, especially after a run or a swim, and then I'm onto the bike. It's kind of just liquid carbs is probably the way forward for me, but everyone's got a personal preference. So that's another question that came up. Other than that, done. Thanks very much. See you soon.